Hello sewing friends, Chelsea here from Sew Simple Home. We've got another great project for you today. This one is for the kitchen. Everybody needs some good kitchen sewing projects. So this is a really simple oven mitt project. I've been meaning to make oven mitts for years. I always make hot pads, or earlier this year I made some like mini oven mitts, but this time we're making a full-size oven mitt and I'm really excited. I made a sample and it turned out super cute, so I can't wait to do this project with you. So let's go ahead and start out with what materials that we're going to need. So first off, you're going to need the pattern. We have the oven mitt pattern for free in the link in the description. Looks a little bit like this. Just go over, it'll take you to the blog where we have our photo tutorial, and then you can print it off. Next, you're gonna need some fabric. I highly suggest you get 100% cotton or a majority cotton. You don't want any synthetics that can melt like polyester, so find some really good and cute cotton fabric. You're gonna need main fabric and lining fabric. You're also going to need, about 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches of bias tape. You don't need a ton of it, but you are going to need some matching bias tape. You also are going to want some Insul-Bright. So it looks like this. And basically, it's like a batting material that has some heat repelling qualities to it. So when you use it as an oven mitt, you shouldn't burn your hand. So you'll need some Insul-Bright. I think that's it. And then your machine and your thread. So let's go ahead and get started. I, just to save time, have already cut out my main fabric and my lining fabric. I've cut out 2 of each. I've cut them out mirror image, so I have my thumb in the right spot on either side. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my Insul-Bright in the shape of my pattern here. You again are going to need 2 layers of Insul-Bright to help insulate the oven mitt, so when you're using it you don't burn your hand. And Insul-Bright you can find lots of places. I think I might have purchased this one on Amazon. I'm not sure. I will check and see where I got it, and I will make sure to leave a link in the description of where I purchased it. I may have gotten it at Fat Quarter Shop. I may have bought it on Etsy. Who knows? But you can buy it in many different places. One side you can kind of see has a sheen and the other one doesn't. So the sheen side is the side that you want to be on the oven side. All right, so now we're going to put our layers together. So this is the oven side, and the oven side is the side that touches the oven. So the main fabric is what's going to touch the oven. So we want that to be the reflective side. The opposite side, if you're a lefty, would also be reflective. Okay, so wherever the main fabric, the outside fabric touches, that's what you want to have the reflective side on. So we're going to put our main fabric on first, like this. Then we'll flip them, and we'll put our lining fabric over the top, like this. We're just going to line everything up as best we can, and then I'm just going to put a pin through the layers just to hold the 3 layers together for the next portion. And the next portion is we're going to quilt it. So you can see on our example here, there's lines through it. The quilting's just going to hold it in place. Now again, when we're talking about anything that we sew that's going to touch heat, we want to pick things that aren't going to melt. So try and pick a cotton fabric versus a polyester. Try to pick 100% cotton threads, things like that. All right, so I just stitched a diagonal from the thumb through, and now I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to sew about an inch or so from that line. Down. Notice how I kind of started in the middle and I'm moving my way down. That will just help not to move your fabric so much. You won't have as many puckers and bubbles. You don't need to back stitch at the beginning and end at all. Okay, now we're going to go the opposite direction. Just trying to stay kind of as parallel as we can. Kind of smoothing the fabric as we go. I am by no means a quilter. I can do a little thing here and there. I'm not a pro. We're just doing very basic just to hold everything together. All right, there's the first side. And I'm just gonna trim all my threads because there's a lot of them because I've been sewing all these lines. Okay, then I'll just take my little iron here. This is my Easy Press Mini, and just kind of press those in. Okay, and you can see it's a little bit off. That's to be expected, kind of when you quilt and you go through lots of layers, things kind of shift a little bit. And we're going to trim those up here in just a bit after we do the other side. Now for the other side, let's go this way, it's a little easier. We're going to kind of start in the same spot and try and follow a similar pattern. It's not going to exactly match up. If you really want it to match up, you could draw the lines and do all of that. But we're just going to try and get a basic, similar pattern going. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just similar. That's all we're looking for. Now when you're picking your materials out, one of the things I was thinking of as I was deciding what material to use is, I don't know about you, but my kitchen can get pretty dirty, especially when I'm working with hot sauces and hot dishes. And so I decided on my exterior fabric to be a little bit darker in hopes that it would hide any stains that might come on or anything like that. Of course, you can pick something that matches your kitchen or something that matches your friend's kitchen if you're making these for friends. And that's the fun part about creating your own projects, is you get licensed to pick what works for you and what looks best in your kitchen and home. All right, I'm just trimming up all these little threads here, getting them out of the way so we can see everything a little bit better. I don't think those are too bad. They line up fairly well. All right, so before we stitch these together, we're going to go ahead and use our pinking shears if you have them. If you don't, you can use your regular scissors and kind of clean up the edges. Now, part of the reason I'm doing this is because it looks better, but mostly is so that when we sew the layers together, we don't have so much bulk. If we have a lot of bulk, then it doesn't lay as flat, doesn't look as nice, it isn't as comfortable. Okay, so we cleaned up that guy. And don't worry if you go through a few stitches. We're going to be stitching all these layers together. Right, we're going to be stitching the front part of the hotbed and the back part of the hotbed together in just a bit. And so those stitches will get stitched over. All right, there's our two sides. Okay, now the next part is we're going to put our right sides together and we're going to pin them in place and we're going to stitch them together. However, when we are actually going to start about right here on our hot pad or our oven mitt and stitch all the way around and end here. Okay, we're going to leave this open because we're going to put some bias tape on the bottom to just kind of give it a finished look. And we just need a little space to work with that. So we're going to put it in our machine and we're just going to stitch at 1/4 of an inch, which is the edge of your presser foot. Go up a little bit. We're going to stitch forward and back, and then we're just following it around. Following around the curve. And since we lined these up together, when we trimmed them just a minute ago, we shouldn't have any issues. Now when we get to where the thumb is, we're going to go down, put our needle in, turn, and continue stitching. And if your material starts bunching or anything, you can put your needle down and kind of fix that as you go. Okay. Those out of the way. When I use my pinking shears, then they just are always in the way because I always think of my regular scissors. All right, that's kind of what it looks like. We've got our opening on this side and everything fits. Okay, we're going to take our bias tape now and we're going to put it on the bottom. This is why we left it open, so that we could get our bias tape on there a little bit easier. So to do that, we're going to kind of lay it flattish. And we're going to start here, open our bias tape, and stitch on the right side of the material all the way around. And I've tried to do this several different ways, and this is the best method. I promise. It all gets a little bit messy, but this one tends to work a little bit better than the others. So you can just kind of see I'm opening and stitching across that bias tape. And then we'll just trim that excess bias tape off. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. And then we can just take this bias tape, fold it towards the inside. Like this. Pin it in place so it doesn't go anywhere. Just like that. Move this one so it's going the right direction here. Okay, so there's our bias tape. Now you have some options here. You can hand sew. On my original one, I hand sewed around so I don't have a stitch. On this one, I'm just going to go ahead and stitch around the bias tape just because of time. And then you can kind of see the difference between the two. So I just kind of lay it in my machine and stitch around, making it flat as I go around. kind of see that bias tape, how I've stitched it down. All right, so now we're gonna finish it by closing this opening up. So we'll just put it back in our machine and stitch down to the end, just like that. And then we can take our pinking shears and we're gonna just kind of clip through all those layers. I might have to do one layer at a time because there's a lot of layers. There we go. Through all the layers, trim all the threads. There we go. Looks good. All right, the next step before we turn it right side out is we need to clip. And what that means when you clip, you are going into the curved edges and you're clipping to the seam, to that stitch, and it allows it to move. So for instance, right now, your finger's not going anywhere. It's kind of stuck. But if I go in here with my scissors and I carefully clip to those stitches, not through them, but all the way to them, look how much movement I have. You're going to do the same thing around your curved edge. You can just clip right into those curves, and it's going to allow that entire hot or oven mitt to lay flat when we turn it right side out. You only have to do this on the curved edges, so around the thumb and around the fingers, about every inch, half inch to an inch, depending on the curve. So you can see here, there's already more movement. All right, let's turn it right side out. And then you can grab the finger and put your fingers in there. Now because we trimmed and clipped like we did, I'm just gonna use a stick. You can use a pen or a pencil. This is a paintbrush. And you just kind of go around the curves. And that'll help everything to lay a little bit flatter. Just like that. And there you go. You've got your very own oven mitt. Now this is a fun one if you are looking to make holiday themed oven mitts. You can make one for Christmas, make one for Valentine's Day, make one for whatever holidays you celebrate. Make one for someone's birthday. I just love how they look. And you can make matching ones. You can make a whole set for your kitchen. But that's how you make an oven mitt. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions or comments. Make sure to check out the link in the description to get the pattern, and also so you can find where you can buy Insulbrite. And I hope to see you next time. We'll see you later.